I still think it was the wrong decision, and I really miss the fact that the United Kingdom is no longer at the table, is no longer part of the EU. I think it was part of a broader trend internationally of increased populism and increased nationalism. We maybe didn't see that at the time. I think that's more obvious now. And I still hope one day the UK will find their way back to the table.
What was at risk for Ireland during that time?
Very substantial. The biggest risk, I think, was that we could have ended up with a hard border between Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland, and that could have threatened the peace settlement, the Good Friday Agreement. There also could have been very serious economic damage to Ireland, given our strong trading relationship with the UK, and also the possibility under certain circumstances that Ireland itself might have been pulled out of the single market or might have had to reassess our membership of the European Union. And I was determined that none of those three things would happen.
When you mentioned there that there was a threat to the Good Friday Agreement, the peace settlement on the island, do you think that there was ever a potential for a return to violence?
Well, that was not only my view, that was the intelligence briefing and security advice given both by the head of police here in Ireland and also the chief constable in Northern Ireland. It was their security assessment that if a hard border was re-established on the land border between North and South, that could lead to a return to violence. There was never any certainty of that, but that was the warning that they were giving us. And I think it was appropriate that we shared that with the wider European family.
Do you think, 10 years on, that the UK could ever rejoin the EU?
No, I genuinely believe it is possible. It seems, when asked in opinion polls anyway, that the majority of British people regret the decision, and particularly younger people are very keen to rejoin. Unfortunately, the political leadership doesn't exist in Westminster for that to be done. But it's not impossible that it mightn't happen in the future. I remember people thinking Brexit was a ridiculous, impossible idea 15, 20 years ago. And equally, I don't think it's impossible that the UK may rejoin, perhaps in 10 or 15 years' time. But the European Union is changing. And I think having the UK back at the table would be so valuable that the European Union should be willing to change to allow countries like the UK to join or join in some way. So I don't think they should be required, for example, to have to join the euro if they don't want to.
And just one other question I wanted to ask you about Brexit, because a lot of people would love to know what the conversation was like when you were in the Wirral with Boris Johnson. That was a significant turning point in the negotiations for Brexit, which actually allowed the final agreement to pass and materialise.
Well, look, I think crucially it was a one-to-one discussion, and often they're the most productive ones in politics when the officials and advisors and diplomats are not in the room. So we were able to have a conversation, a discussion with plausible deniability on both sides. I do think crucially we were all coming up against deadlines.
In the end, did he renege on that agreement, though?
Well, yes, quite frankly, he certainly tried to, and we had to make amendments to it, and we're eventually in a position to make a new agreement with Prime Minister Sunak, which wasn't all that different from the previous one.